Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to factor a trinomial with multivariate factors. That means I'm going to have two variables, either x and a y or an a and a b or something like that. Okay, like I said earlier in a previous video, if I'm factoring a trinomial, I'm going to use that box method. Okay, so I'm going to work 2x squared plus 17xy plus 35y squared, and my directions are going to say factor. Okay, so just like the box method worked before, I see I have an x squared and an xy and a y squared. This xy, okay, for him to come about, when we break this guy down into factors, we're going to have to use an x and a y. So in order to get an x squared in the front, we're going to need an x, and in order to get a y squared in the back, we're going to need a y and a y in the back, and together that's going to make this xy term right here. So the process is just the same. So I'll multiply the 2 times the 35, and that's a 70. And then I'll come up with all the factors of 70. So that's 1 times 70, 2 times 35. 3 doesn't work, 4 doesn't work, 5, no. 6, no. 5 does work, sorry, 5. Okay, so let's see. That's 14. 6, no. 7 works. 7 times 10. Okay, so I have to find the factors that are going to make this 17 in the middle, and so that's going to be my 10 and my 7. So I know that this 17 is going to become a 7 and a 10, and notice that the term is an xy in the middle, so I'm going to need an xy. So when I make my 2 by 2 box this time, okay, my first term is going to be my 2x squared, and then my last term down here is going to be my 35y squared, and then I'm going to put the 7xy in one of the boxes and the 10xy in the other box. So now I find the common factor between my columns and my rows. So right here, this column, these numbers are both divisible by 2, so that's my common factor. And then these guys have a y, an x in common, so I need a 2x. And then in this column, these numbers are both divisible by 7. 7 goes into 7, and it also goes into 35. And then for my variables, they have a common y, so I'll factor a y out. Now let's check our row. Okay, so the numbers don't have anything in common, but I see an x in both of these, so they have a common x. And then look at my last row. The numbers have a 5 in common, so I'm going to factor out a 5. And then they also have a y in common. Okay, so that was a positive. So when I write my factors out, I'll get 2x plus 7y and x plus 5y. Now for this one, I'm going to go ahead and check it so that you can see that I did get it correct. I feel like this is my final answer. I'm going to put my box around it. So now I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to take the 2x times the x. That's 2x to the second. And then 2x times the positive 5y. So that's positive 10xy. And then I'm going to take the 7y times the x. Well, when I multiply those in math, it's going to be yx. But in math, we usually write it in alphabetical order. So I'm going to put the x first. Okay, so xy. and then I'll multiply these two guys together. So 7 times 5 is 35, and y times y is y squared. So now if I take my two middle terms, that combined is 17xy. So I have 2x squared plus 17xy plus 35y squared, and that was my original problem. So my answer is definitely correct.